started Nisaa because we realized there was a need for women to be able to talk about the abuse they were experiencing. So we started by doing community education workshops, basically to get a sense of, the extent of the problem. And we were quite shocked that in a group of about 50 women, almost 40 were abused. And that clearly indicated to us that there was a need to do something about this problem.
There was a need for women, for a place of safety for the woman. When their lives were endangered, they had nowhere to go to. Sometimes family members were scared to keep them because of the perpetrator threatening to kill or harm them in some way or the other.
And the work that Nisaa does with shelters involves enabling the woman to reside in the shelter for a period of 3 to 6 months in our case. Some other shelters might do it for longer or shorter periods. And basically during that time, women have counseling. Those who have jobs are able to continue working, while the women that don't have jobs, we either offer them the opportunity to come to our Basadi Pili project, which is a jewelry making project. And the other women, we also linked with organizations in the community where we would send them for training, like computer training or sewing, or there are also cooking classes that some other organizations offer. So we would give them some opportunity or help them to find a job.
When we get the woman in the shelter, they're very traumatized. They've just been beaten up and they've just left the relationship. They're always crying and hurt and miserable. After a few days staying in the shelter, the environment has changed.
It's like a second home, where in terms of they're free at the shelter, and it's a place that gives them hope also.
Nisaa was involved in establishing the National Shelter Movement of South Africa. Prior to the establishment, we had 2 conferences bringing together shelter workers and shelter staff from across the country. And at the second convention, there was a clear indication by shelters that they wanted to form the National Shelter Movement. And Nisaa was then elected to become the secretariat. This was 2008. And from 2008 to now, we've grown. Basically, we exist, we have provincial representatives in all 9 provinces, and we bring them together to capacitate them and to understand what the issues are on sheltering. The training that we do includes basic and advanced counseling skills. We do self-esteem development for women and younger women. We also provide training for school-going students, basically for them to support their fellow students and identify if there's a need for them to have counseling, and then refer them or get them to encourage them to come to Nisaa. And we do a train the trainer program.
I find when participants come in here, they do not have a real understanding of what gender inequality is. Once the training is in process, I find that the mindset of the participants changes quite a bit. There seems to be an awareness that had not been there previously. So training is very important in that it takes into the community, it takes forward the work we do with people that are, basically lay people.
as you've heard. The campaign is announcing that we are taking over public spaces. No longer should a woman be afraid to travel to and from work. No longer should a woman be afraid to leave her home. And no longer should a woman be afraid to be a woman. We call on all South Africans to join us in ensuring that women are safe
The
wherever
Nisaa
they
advocacy
are.
program, I think we have a long history with that as well, and it's progressed quite a lot. I think one of the learnings from there is that in the beginning we came across as very strong and almost anti-men. And that we received messages from people when we had the bus campaign where the slogan was, "You're only half a man if you rape a woman." People called us and, name called us and things. And so a little while later we understood that instead of trying to antagonize people, we need to ally with them, right? And so that changed the tone of the kind of advocacy we did.
We at Nisaa strongly believe that we need to be proactive in terms of the work that we do and try and stop the violence before it starts. The advocacy programs are important for the Nisaa Institute for Women's Development, as with any other organization, because they assist women get the justice that they deserve. Currently we're working on Community Dialogues and Advocacy Project, which is a project that looks at mobilizing community members to act against violence against women. So basically they're taking ownership of the problem and then going out and doing something about it. And by doing this they realize that they have the power to do something about it, to make a difference within their community and within their own personal lives.
The time we were writing books, they were there for us, they were assisting us with everything. They were comforting us. When I saw it in the paper, I saw it, I did the right thing by writing, because now I don't have an anger anymore. I can't even cry, even someone asks me about it, just like right now. I'm fine. Now it's a history. Life goes on. And I have moved on with my life.
To Nisaa, I will never forget Nisaa as long as I am alive. They took me from nowhere. Maybe ngabe ngifile khona manje ngangizodecide ukuzibulala ngoba impilo engangiyiphila yayihlunga kakhulu and kungenamuntu engizongitshela, kungenamuntu ozongibelieve mangitshela.
When I came to Nisaa, this is what I really took things for granted. And then I realized after reading the stories of what women have gone through and that I came to a point of realizing that there are out women there that need help. So a lot of awareness needs to be done by raising awareness in our society with campaign work and talks and so that women know their rights and they know there's a place that is there for them.
When I look back and when I have the history of 20 years, I sometimes feel a little disheartened because it just seems, we kind of still battling the same issues. in South Africa in particular, we keep reinventing the wheel. The government keeps setting up a new GBV council, and when a new government is elected, then they change the minister. So we can't keep doing that. We're not forging ahead. And yet, on the other hand, we've signed every possible convention on eradicating violence against women. But at the same time, we haven't yet got our gender equality bill in place. It's still on hold, which is supposed to give South African women, the equality that they need. And yet this is slow to come.
Perceptions can still be changed, it's never too late. And we're hoping that the future generation will be a better generation.
My message to men in South Africa is that they have the ability to do something about the abuse. They don't have to fold their arms. I believe that within them there is a loving part. So they need to show that loving part. Even if they see a man abusing a woman out there, they must stand up and say, this can't happen. So that we can have a beautiful South Africa that we're supposed to live in.
Our mother's lap is the university of the world, the university of life. And how we treat our girl children is going to make a huge impression on them, especially when it comes to their self-esteem. We as women can make a difference.